Hello, everybody.
Hello.
This is Claudia, and I'm here with psychotherapist Dee Gardner, and she works with consulting services.
Gardner Counseling Services.
Gardner Counseling Services. And we are continuing talking about all of this stuff with narcissism. And specifically, one of the questions that came up last week was about damaged and injured empaths.
So just a second. So today this is a recording. As you can see, it's not live. It's a recording. So the first Thursday of the month, we'll have a recording up. We want to be sure to give you something. You can still leave comments and ask questions on this video, and then we will still be responding to your questions. It will be later today. So we hope that you can still find this beneficial.
Absolutely. So please watch and actually help us with your questions, because we're really creating this forum for there to be an interaction between you and us. And this is an opportunity for us to be able to get this information to you. So please give us questions so that we can have further topics, and we definitely will answer whatever comes up throughout that. So, let's talk initially about what is an injured empath. And I wanted to ask you, what are questions? What's going on in the mind of an injured empath that makes them that?
Okay. Well, an injured empath is a person that they've been in well, let me back up. There's the empath, and then there's a person that's highly sensitive, and then there's a person they're not an empath and they're not highly sensitive, but they've still been impacted by the narcissist. They've been in a relationship with a person that exhibits narcissistic behaviors, and then they have been impacted so negatively. So I was mentioning to Claudia earlier, I want to back up and I want to clarify various terms. There's narcissism, there's narcissist, there's empath, and narcissism. Narcissism is a whole slew of behaviors. There's these behaviors that are I'll call it narcissistic in nature. These harmful behaviors, these behaviors that demonstrate a person being self-centered or selfish or self-absorbed. It's constantly about them. I'd say those are narcissistic behaviors, and they're under a whole umbrella called narcissism. So narcissism has really been getting a lot of attention these days. It's very, very kind of almost like a buzzword these days. Narcissism, these are all narcissistic behaviors. Then we narrow that down. There is the narcissist. That's the person that demonstrates or they exhibit a lot of these behaviors. Okay, that's putting it, therapists will narrow it down even further. There are specific behaviors that if a person exhibits enough of these narcissistic behaviors, we call them a narcissist. And so I want to just clarify. So a lot of times we're referring to narcissism. If you look at it on a spectrum, people that exhibit some of these behaviors will say this is a narcissist when they may not meet enough criteria to be called a narcissist clinically. However, when a person meets enough of those behaviors, then they will be referred to as a narcissist, even if it's not clinically. So these days we'll say that's a narcissist, that's a narcissist, that's a narcissist,
right.
That's a narcissist.
There's an epidemic of narcissists right now. Yeah.
When what's really happening is they're exhibiting these narcissistic behaviors. They might not necessarily be identified as a narcissist, but for the sake of these videos, we are referring to people that exhibit enough narcissistic behaviors as narcissists. Is that
okay? Yeah, no, I think that's a great clarification. So a narcissistic behavior is selfish, self-absorbed, but a narcissist that is full-blown from a diagnostic standpoint is going to have more criteria than that.
Yes.
However, for our purposes, since we're here to inform and create this dialogue with everybody, the treatment for that, or how you could be a better person or recover from that, is going to be similar regardless of if it's a full-blown narcissist or if it's just a person who has some of the narcissist traits. Is that?
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. All right. So
the question was about an empath.
So there is a lot of talk about how empaths and narcissists tend to meet up and have relationships together, and they're terrible, especially from the empath's perspective, in that they come up more with that. And there was a question last time that talked about what is a damaged or injured empath, and how can we help them, or if you're that person, what is that? So let's start with, well, what is this injured empath thing? Can you give some examples of what would be going on in their mind to help people identify with that?
Well, what is an empath? What is it? What do we
mean
by an empath? Yeah. Do you want to you want to share about that?
Sure. So an empath is a person who not only has a sense, when you're listening to somebody talk about something bad that's happening to them, you have a sense of empathy and sympathy for that person. Now, an empath is going to take that to another level. And they're not just going to have sympathy like, oh, wow, that's a bad situation for you, and that must feel bad for you. They're actually going to internalize it in their body, and it can be very confusing to them because it's like you're upset because something bad is happening to you, and the empath will absorb and understand that as if they're upset. And they get confused because nothing really happened to them. It happened to the other person. So it's almost, you can almost say like their heart is wide open, and they don't know the distinction between you and me. And so we're just all one, which on a spiritual level makes beautiful sense. But from a day-to-day living level, it's very confusing because you go around picking up everybody's emotions as if they were your own, and you don't have any way of processing that because it's not your stuff. So when an empath is absorbing everybody's emotions, and that the issue that happens when they come across a narcissist is the narcissist tends to not have access to as many emotions.
Right.
And so they meet up really well because one overfeels and one underfeels. I'm greatly simplifying that, by the way. But, if you can add on that, feel free.
Yes. The empath is absorbing the environment. And one of the things that happens if there's empathy and there's the empath. Empathy is where we can see things, we can step into the other person's shoes. We can kind of see things from the other person's point of view. We can feel, this person's sad and we're sad. You ever notice babies, because it doesn't have to be taught intellectually. It's something that's felt. Little babies, you have all these babies in the room. One baby starts crying, and now you've got all the other babies start crying. That's kind of it's mirror. It's like mirror neurons. That is kind of how empathy is. You really feel, you're upset, I'm upset. You're angry, I'm angry. You're sad, I'm sad. I really feel sad. I can cry. You're crying. It can move me to cry. I'm empathizing. That's what empathy looks like. An empath, as you heard what Claudia just described, what happens is they walk into that room, and there's all these strong emotions. This person's really, really, really angry, really, really upset. They leave that room now they're done. They're no longer at work, or they're no longer in the presence of they're still angry. They can't shake it off. Right. That's where the empath comes in. There's empathy. I consider myself a highly sensitive person. So it's easy for me to feel empathetic. However, when I walk out the door, I can separate from it.
It's not your stuff.
It's not my stuff. The empath, it's not so easy to separate. It's not so easy to separate. They begin to feel they're angry all day.
Right, and you don't know why. Because here's the thing with, if you're angry, there's probably something you need to do about it. The person who's originally angry can do something about their situation. The empath is walking around with this anger, but there's nothing for them to be actually angry about. So it makes it very confusing for an empath to distinguish that, and that's part of the empath's work. So just throwing that out there.
And what I've noticed in my practice is they can find something to be upset about. And so then they'll start, I could be in a session with an empath, let's say group. I've seen this on many occasions. I'm in a group with women, and then someone, let's say they're upset over something that's happening in their relationship, and they're upset at their partner, and they're really, really angry. And then the next couple of days, we have empaths in the room. They go home and they start arguments with their significant other, not realizing they're actually carrying the anger from this other person. They've incorporated it into their system, and it gets stuck there. And so now they've got this problem and that problem and that problem. Now they got all these reasons to be angry. So we can make up reasons to be angry, upset, sad, hurt, whatever it is. So that's the empath. So that is the person that makes that person is a prime target for a narcissist.
Absolutely.
That person is a prime target for a narcissist, because all of those emotions, because that empath can walk in the room, and it's my understanding that an empath can they feel big. They feel things really big, and they feel it in their body, and they're just, if they're in the room full of a lot of people, they're absorbing all that energy. And so a narcissist doesn't do that. A narcissist is not experiencing any of it.
Right.
No, they're low on that. They're low on fuel. That we call it fuel. They don't have any. And so, because that also gives a person a sense of self. It helps the person know who they are, what they like. Feelings are there's data in feelings. There's information in feelings. If somebody step on your toe, you say, ouch. It means it's data there.
Right.
It's dangerous. You feel that. It hurts. When someone says something that's offensive, you feel angry. You feel frustrated. You feel hurt when someone hurts you. So when you're missing someone, you're longing for someone, you feel a certain thing inside, right?
Absolutely.
When if someone's following you, your heart starts beating, you get nervous, your fight or flight kicks in. You can feel that something's wrong here. There's an
intelligence to that.
There's an intelligence to it. Yes,
and we talk about that in our workshops about how we can use feelings to help give you data and interpret that data.
Yes.
Now the narcissist is not getting that.
Narcissist is low. Is very, very, very low on that. The only feelings the narcissist feels is shame. That's the only soft one. Shame. They feel envy. They feel anger. We have what we call narcissistic rage. They feel jealous. They feel envious.
So none of those are really nice or positive emotions.
Right.
So they don't feel love.
Right.
They don't feel joy.
Right.
They don't feel peaceful.
Right.
They might feel shame, and that's like the soft, like
now
you said, the softest.
And if they do, they feel the excitement, but it's not in the way that others will. It's the narcissist might be excited and they may smile, but it's because they are reaching their they feel like they've gotten enough validation for reaching an unrealistic self-image. So the narcissist has this unrealistic false self that they present to the world, and then when they get all these alkaloids, there's kind of some excitement, but not really. It's not the way that we experience it. They're always hungry. So the empath has all this emotional energy, and we call narcissists energy vampires. They're emotional vampires. So they're sucking it, they're draining you. So it's not uncommon for an empath. Now they've left a narcissistic experience, or they've been in the presence of narcissism, and they leave drained, frustrated, upset, because that person have drawn energy from them. So that's kind of the technical way of...
That definitely is what that feels like, for sure, when you're around. And for those of you who aren't empaths, or who, if you want another way of looking at that, that's when you go in and there's a person, you know, who is self-absorbed, selfish, bragging all the time, and they just suck up all the air in the room. That's something that I've heard from different people, where it's like, this person sucks up all the air in the room. And then you leave and you're just like, I just left this meeting or this interaction or this party, and you feel tired because you didn't enjoy yourself. That's for other people. The empath is just going to take that in, and it's going to feel that for a while. It could be for days or something like that. So it's really important to have good hygiene around that.
And the empath will internalize it, and they'll say, well, maybe it's me. I feel this. So this is the work for the empath. Because I feel a certain way, maybe that's true. So when they're told, you're just too selfish,
they start thinking, am I really selfish? You know, that was that one time that I did that too much. And then you start justifying all the ways that you could be selfish, even though, generally speaking, you're probably not selfish. And this is just a way.
It's the
complete opposite of it.
Yes.
But you're sitting there making a tally of why you meet that criteria.
Or they'll say something like, you're too sensitive. Well, I am sensitive, right?
Well, you know, and the narcissist tends to do lots of things to instigate and hurt your feelings, and they're inappropriate, and they talk over you, and they don't let you say anything. So your feelings get hurt because you haven't been seen, you have been rolled, you know, they've been talked over you or whatever, and your feelings get hurt, and all of a sudden you're the one that's too sensitive, and then you start thinking, well, yeah, I am really sensitive. You know, maybe I should work on that. And that spirals you into something else when it's not you at all, as the empath. Or even other people who are around narcissists. I think kind of tend to maybe possibly doubt a little bit.
Yeah. So I want to talk about some of the things that an empath, a person that's been abused by, they may or may not be an empath, but this is the person that's experienced narcissistic abuse. You know, in some of the other videos, and you know, like I said, it's kind of a niche word these days, a buzzword these days, narcissism. So it's all over the place. But what it does is the people that are in relationships with these people, or the people that has some sort of close relationship with the person, they may start wondering, what's wrong with me? You know, what's wrong with me? Do I like pain? You know, why am I doing this to myself? How can I allow myself to be fooled by this person? They said this, they said that. They were wonderful in the beginning. They said, I love you, you know, because they go through this nice mean cycle. They're really nice.
And the nice side is just absolutely like
amazing
because
they go through this nice mean cycle.
They're hooking you, and so
the empath remembers that. The narcissistic survivor remembers that. You know, you remember that and you're going after that. I know that good person is in there. I know that good person is somewhere in there. And so, and I'm like, well, why do I keep allowing it? And every once in a while you hear things like what you're hearing now, but why am I allowing myself to be fooled? Why am I being punished like this? Why is this happening to me? So I want to touch base on some of that. One thing that happens is when you're living in a danger zone, like military. When I work with people that's experienced PTSD, complex PTSD, severe post-traumatic stress disorder, that's what that stands for, syndrome. You have a veteran, a person that's been in combat, and they've been at war, and now they're home, and they have flashbacks. They can't sleep. They have nightmares. They hear
the big
an
noises.
ambulance pass by, and it scares them. Big noises, just a bang or whatever. It reminds them of gunshots, of bombs. They're easily startled. They're on the edge. They're restless. They have racing thoughts. They can't think. They can't focus. They can't concentrate. They can't relax. So they're always in this state like this, right? The muscles, everything's all tight, and they can't relax. And so the empath, or person that's been impacted by narcissism, lives like that. Always on guard, always on the lookout, always okay. It's like you're walking around in a landfill. And what do they call a landmine? And you don't want to make the wrong step, or it might blow. So we're always on guard.
So it's not just eggshells. It's like eggshells that are really landmines.
Yes.
So you're really, really hyper-vigilant.
Hyper-vigilant. And so as a result, all this cortisone shoots through your system. What will happen is the brain will signal danger, 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 danger. So now we're in a fight, flight, or freeze reaction. Fight, flight, we're either going to argue, fuss. We're either going to freeze. We're not going to do anything. We're not going to do anything. Okay, all right.
It's like, they came home and just stay quiet. Don't say anything. Don't stir.
Are we going to run? Typically, an empath, or because they're nice, one of their traits is being very nice, very considered, very kind presentation. So
and lots of benefits.
They tend to go into freeze a lot, is what I notice. They'll go along. They won't speak up. They won't show up. They won't have their boundaries. Those types of things. So you have this cortisone shooting through the system, and cortisone enough that's a stress hormone. And that causes all types of problems. It causes obesity. It causes weight gain, because the body is in a state of protection. It senses danger. So the amygdala, there's a part of the brain, and I have this in my book, by the way. There's a part of the brain that sends a signal throughout the body that says we need to go into a protection mode, or we need to go into a survival mode.
So is that kind of like shelter in place?
Say that again?
Is that like shelter in place?
Tell us more about that.
So shelter in place is a term that's used where you're not able to get out of. For example, if there's a disaster, a natural disaster, and you can't leave the city. And I'm saying that because we had to experience that when Harvey hit, and we couldn't all just evacuate, so we might just have to shelter in place. This is something that's also used in when you have chemical factories and things like that, and maybe there's a chemical spill, and you can't go out into the plant to get off the plant because you'd have to walk through all the chemical area that's contaminated, so you have to stay in the building and shelter in place. So you're going to have, in those instances, you'd have the food that you need, you'd have the air that you need, whatever it is that you need to be able to survive for a period of time.
Right. Yes.
So it's similar to that.
Yes.
Okay.
And then there's what we call learned helplessness. There is where if you see an elephant in a circus and you see a little tiny rope on their leg, they can snap that rope. Why aren't they leaving? Why don't they go away? Why is that rope making that elephant stay there? Well, it was because when the elephant was a baby, they had a big chain on it and it couldn't get away. And then as it starts growing, they start making a smaller chain all the way to the little rope. Now we have this adult. So the elephant learned what's the use.
When they were a baby, they couldn't.
When they were a baby, they gave up. They couldn't get away. So now in their mind, even though they may look at that little bitty rope, in their mind they are trapped. It's very similar to narcissistic abuse. Okay. You feel trapped, like you can't get away. So even let's say you're the breadwinner. You're the breadwinner. You're the one that's able to take care of things around the house. Your narcissist may or may not be in some sort of addiction. They may be irresponsible. They may not be. But you're the breadwinner. But somehow in your mind, You need the person. You cannot survive. So there's learned helplessness. There is there's this freeze state where we won't move forward, we won't speak up, we won't take care of ourselves. There's people pleasing. These are some things you learn to do to survive in this chaotic situation. People pleasing. Why don't I just go along with the person? So as a result, you're abandoning yourself. So to give you some solution to that, last week we talked about boundaries. You know, empaths, notice how you feel when that radar goes off. You don't have to. I'm going to give you a concrete example. Here's this text message, this long text message, this long scathing text message. At that moment, the amygdala says, danger, 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 you know, protect yourself.
Right.
Danger.
And it's just a text message.
Panic,
Yeah.
panic, oh my God, right? And at that moment, you learn to take care of yourself. You don't have to act right away. That's the number one thing. Pause, stop, breathe.
So important.
You do not have to do anything immediately right now. Stop, pause, take a deep breath from your belly. As an empath, it is important that you take care of your body, calm that body down, calm those muscles down, calm that anxiety down. You know, with clients, sometimes, you know, they think it's kind of weird at first. I said, talk to those muscles. Talk to that heartbeat. Slow down. Chill out. And meditate. Mindfulness.
And then what is really interesting about that is that, you know, when you get that text message, if you're in that situation, you're going to jump, just like you mentioned. So, and at the same time, that narcissist or narcissistic person with those tendencies is going to be, why didn't you respond to me right away? There will be repercussions where they're just going to keep yelling at you and stuff like that. And it's okay. You still have to take a step back and do, you know, what you've been talking about. Stop.
Yes.
Breathe. Calm your body down. It is just a text message and it's not going to kill you. And it's okay.
And it's important for you to plan your reactions. You get support. You're not going to be able to do this alone. You like that elephant? Well, yeah, I guess I am calling you an elephant.
Yeah, a little
with that
elephant,
rope,
yeah.
that learned helplessness. You got to have support to learn how to do this. These are skills and there's strategies. And now the narcissists, they've already strategized. They have a strategy. And
part
it's
of
very predictable. So you've got to we don't just act on feelings. You have a strategy on how first of all, boundaries. We talked about boundaries. It's not okay when you're upset, because here's one of my personal rules. If you're really upset about me, that's not the time to text me. I will not respond to a text. If you're upset, we're going to need to talk about it.
When both of you are calm.
When we're calm. And when we talk, it's not okay to yell and scream and curse me out.
Or set ultimatums
So that's the
or
plan.
all that kind of stuff.
So have a plan for how do you resolve issues? How do you approach? This is your plan for your life. It's not up to the other person. Is that, well, they won't listen to me. They won't calm down. They won't respect my boundaries. You respect your boundaries. What is your boundary? Do not engage in certain situations. You decide what those situations are, and that's where getting support, getting help, and possibly getting professional help might come in to help you learn how to strategize and you take charge of your life. Take your life back. That's one way you get to take your life back.
Absolutely.
You get to decide how you feel, how you respond, how you react, and what you are. So that's another thing about the narcissistic.
Because their strategy is going to be about having you about them and about isolating you. So that's why the support is important. It's also, they have a strategy. They're wanting you to be all worked up, to be all angry, to be all sad, to be hysterical. They want that. Of course, they're going to say bad things to you, which will make you more hysterical, more angry, all this kind of stuff.
And then it validates them.
And then it validates them. That's the fuel they're after. So you just fed into their strategy. So you have to have
I have an idea. Let's do that. You be the crazy one, I'm going to be the narcissist. I mean, physically. I'm physically, like what you were just doing. Go ahead.
So I'm going to be like, and I'm like, and I'm just going to be like, why are you doing this? Like, what is going on? Like, why is that person? And then I'm the one that's crazy. What are you doing this? Like, I'm not the one that's crazy. You were the one that was mean.
That's kind of how it looks.
It does.
That's kind of how it looks. That feeds them because that validates, look, I'm superior. I'm better than you. I'm smarter than you. I'm wiser than you. And you're just an object. Look, you are sick.
They definitely have you feel that way.
And that makes them feel better. They have a false sense of self. They have shame. They're empty. So they've got to have that. They have to one down a person in order to feel good about themselves. And it's never enough. That's never fulfilled. So they're always seeking fuel from wherever they can get it.
Absolutely.
And you, Mr. and Mrs. Empath, you're the perfect source.
You are.
Unfortunately.
We are, unfortunately.
So you take care of yourself. You decide who you are. You decide what you will accept in your life. And you decide what kind of day you're going to have. That's not anybody's responsibility but yours.
Absolutely. So have your voice. Know who you are. Be in alignment with yourself. And watch those boundaries. Enforce those boundaries. Empower yourself to be that. So that's going to be the end for this. Thank you so much for listening. We love working with you guys, and we love these questions, so keep them coming. If you want to work with us, you can contact Dee at her website.
I'm Dee Gardner with Gardner Counseling Services. My website, it will be in the description here as well. thecounselingservice.com. I also have a Facebook Narcissistic Abuse group that is on my my Facebook business Gardner Counseling Services webpage as well, and also have a YouTube channel called Mindfulness Abundance. And you are actually watching one of the videos. If you're on YouTube right now, hit the subscribe button, hit the little red button bell as well, so that you can get my postings. I'll be posting every so often on narcissism and other topics. I'm also a certified sex addiction therapist, so I work with partners of sex addicts as well as sex addicts.
Yes, and that comes up a lot with narcissists, so that's just your ways of doing that. And then if you're ready to amplify that support and help you get more into alignment and feel empowered with having your voice, finding yourself, being in alignment, and supporting all of the recovery that we've been talking about, you can also use hypnosis to help your subconscious get on board with these different actions and strategies that you're going to use to help you be a more empowered person in your life. And you can reach me at here on Facebook or on my website, which is www.claudiaautry.com. So we'll talk soon. See you next time. Bye.